CV Import Image As version 1.5 introduces a lot of new options for how to import your images and apply those as they are added in your scene. So let's go ahead and create a new file and go through those options. I'm going to go to CV Import and go to CV Plane from Image. And to the right here, I have an options gear, so I'm going to click on that. This brings up an options dialog with a few different settings. The default here, max width height, will maintain the settings that you're used to in previous versions. So if I load in an image here, it's going to get added with the same name as that file, and I see that the width here is set to 400 and the height is something smaller than that. So it's fitting inside of a standard size plane. If I want, I can choose a max height option and load in a directory again. And now what's going to happen is that the height of my plane is going to stick within 400 centimeters here, but the width will adjust dynamically. So you can end up with some very wide images using this. Next up is match source. And what this will do is load in a plane with the exact same dimensions as the image that you're loading. So I see now that my width here is 1668 and my height is 1080. And this is really useful if you're doing any work with UI elements that you've built up in Photoshop and you want to make sure that all of the pieces very exactly meet with each other. Next, there are some options for loading from directories. Now, we've always been able to do this by holding down Alt or Option, but now it's available as a button. So I can just choose Directory right here and load in my HD images. And each and every one of them is going to come in as a separate plane, all of them with the correct sizing. Now, sometimes you'll end up in a situation where the images that you want to import are numerically named. So it might be image 01, image 02, and if you import those, what you'll end up with is just a single image, and when you press play, you'll get something like this. Now, that was a limitation of previous versions, but in the latest version of CV Import Image As, you can now turn off the Load Sequential Images as Animations option and load in that numbered directory. And what's going to happen is each and every file, even though it has a very similar name, is going to come in as its own plane. Now, there are some circumstances where you're going to want to bring in a bunch of animated image sequences. And for that, just go to CV Plane from Image and turn Load Sequential Images as Animation back on. And in previous versions, you would have to load in each image sequence manually, individually. Instead, what we can do now is go to the Directory option, and CV Import Image As version 1.5 is smart enough to find all continuous image sequences and bring them in together. So when I press play, we see that I've got 3 different images or animations that are playing back, all appropriately named. I hope that you enjoy version 1.5 of CV Import Image As. Please let me know if you run into any problems or have suggestions for new features.